Welcome back. Today we're diving deep into Unit 6, Topic 6, the massive movements of people that reshaped the world between 1750 and 1900. If you've ever wondered why your city has a Little Italy or a Chinatown, a lot of those stories start right here. So grab your notebook and let's get into the causes of migration in the modern era. First, let's set the stage. The period from 1750 to 1900 was an age of incredible change. We're talking industrialization, imperialism, and a brand new global capitalist economy. All these big forces didn't just change how goods were made, they fundamentally changed where people lived and why they moved. We can boil down the reasons for migration into two classic categories: push factors and pull factors. Push factors are the things that make you want to leave a place, while pull factors are the things that attract you to a new one. Let's start with the push factors. What was driving people out of their homelands? A huge one was demographic change. In many parts of the world, especially Europe and Asia, populations were booming. Thanks to new farming techniques from the agricultural revolution and better sanitation, more people were surviving and living longer. But this created a problem: not enough land and not enough jobs to go around. Think about Ireland. The population grew rapidly, and most people depended on the potato. When the potato blight hit in the 1840s, it led to the Great Famine. Widespread starvation and poverty pushed millions of Irish people to pack their bags and seek a new life, primarily in the United States. It wasn't just about food and land, though. Political turmoil was another massive push factor. The Taiping Rebellion in China during the mid-19th century was one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. The chaos, destruction, and economic devastation it caused pushed millions of Chinese people, particularly from the southern provinces, to seek safety and opportunity elsewhere. They moved to Southeast Asia, the Americas, and Oceania, often as indentured laborers. Now, let's flip the script and talk about pull factors. What was so appealing about these new destinations? The biggest magnet, without a doubt, was the demand for labor. The Industrial Revolution created a hunger for raw materials and the abolition of slavery in many parts of the world. Like the British Empire in 1833, created a massive labor shortage on plantations and in mines. Who was going to do all this work? This is where new systems of labor come in. One of the most significant was indentured servitude. This was a system where workers, often from India and China, signed contracts to work for a specific number of years in exchange for passage to a new country, housing, and a small wage. It sounds a bit like a job contract, but the reality was often brutal. Conditions were harsh, and it was very difficult to leave before the contract was up. Millions of Indians were sent as indentured servants to work on sugar plantations in the Caribbean in places like Trinidad and Guyana. They also went to Fiji in the Pacific, Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, and South Africa. Similarly, Chinese laborers were crucial for building the transcontinental railroads in the United States and Canada, and worked in mines in Peru and on plantations in Cuba. This created huge diasporic communities that exist to this day. Another form of labor was the contract labor system, which was similar but sometimes offered slightly better terms. Japanese and Filipino workers, for example, migrated to Hawaii to work on sugar plantations under these contracts. But not everyone who moved was unfree or semi-free. A significant portion of migrants were free agents, seeking economic opportunity. Think of the European settlers who flocked to settler colonies like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Argentina. These were places where land was often cheap or even free, offered by governments eager to populate their vast territories. An Irish farmer who couldn't afford land back home could dream of owning a large farm in the American Midwest. A British engineer might find better-paying work building railways in Argentina. These migrants weren't just laborers. They were often skilled workers, merchants, or entrepreneurs who helped build the economies of their new homes. So we have these big push and pull factors: population pressure and poverty pushing people out, and the demand for labor and economic opportunity pulling them in. But how did all these people physically get from point A to point B? The answer lies in another key development of this era: transportation technology. The invention of the steamship was a game changer. Suddenly, transoceanic voyages that used to take months could be completed in just a few weeks. It was cheaper, faster, and safer than ever before to cross the Atlantic or the Pacific. Railroads also played a massive role, not just by employing migrants to build them, but also by opening up the interiors of continents like North America and Siberia for settlement. Technology made the world smaller and migration on a mass scale possible for the first time in history. Let's recap the different types of migrants we've seen. We have indentured servants, primarily from India and China, who filled the labor gap left by the end of slavery. We have contract laborers from various parts of Asia. We have convicts, like the British, who were sent to Australia to establish a penal colony. And we have free settlers, mostly from Europe, who were seeking land and fortune in settler colonies. It's a complex picture with many different experiences. The impact of this migration was enormous, both on the societies people left and the societies they joined. For the home countries, it could relieve population pressure, and migrants often sent money, called remittances, back home to their families, which was a huge boost to their local economies. For the receiving societies, the effects were transformative. Migrants provided the labor that fueled industrial growth and economic expansion. They brought their cultures, foods, languages, and religions with them, creating the multicultural societies we know today. But it wasn't always a smooth process. The arrival of so many new people often led to social and racial tensions. Migrant groups faced discrimination and prejudice. Think of the Chinese Exclusion Act in the United States in 1882 or the White Australia policy, which were explicitly designed to restrict immigration from Asia. These new arrivals were often seen as a threat to the jobs and cultural identity of the native-born population, leading to conflict and discriminatory laws. So, to bring it all together for your AP exam, when you think about the causes of migration from 1750 to 1900, remember this framework. Start with the context, a new globalized economy driven by industrialization. Then, identify the specific push factors, like poverty, famine, and political instability, and the pull factors, primarily the global demand for labor and economic opportunity. Connect these factors to the new transportation technologies like steamships and railroads that made it all possible. And finally, be able to explain the different types of migration, from indentured servitude to free settlement and their wide-ranging effects on both the sending and receiving societies. Understanding this global movement of people is absolutely crucial for understanding the modern world. That's a wrap for topic 6.6. I hope this helps you connect the dots on this massive and important topic. Give the video a like and don't forget to subscribe for more AP World content. Also hit the notification bell so you know when new material is posted.